Yeah.
The Big 12 experience, spring games, and transfer portal updates edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play their pick'em for a chance to win 100 times in NBA, NHL, MMA, NHL, golf, and more. Sign up today using the promo code TCESGPN to get a 100% deposit match today.
We losing Ryan, Troy?
Kind of seems like it. I don't hear the music yet either.
Oh, there we go.
Wow.
The streaming software is taking a it's off season 2, right?
StreamYard has entered the transfer portal.
And we welcome you in to the Big 12 college experience. As you can see, Moneyline Mac, his Wi-Fi's it's in the transfer portal, as we said. StreamYard might be a little bit in the transfer portal. But as you know me, here he is. Your Wi-Fi's in the transfer portal, Ryan?
Yeah, what the hell's going on, man? It's I don't know if it's StreamYard or my Wi-Fi or all the above. But hey, if you're wondering who you're listening to, I am Moneyline Mac, aka the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. And you guys, just heard, this is the Big 12 experience. So I'm joined by a guy that's born in Provo, Utah. He's got family in Ames, Iowa, and he lives in Morgantown, West Virginia, a.k.a. a walking contradiction. Co-host of the Ryan and Rush show. Rambling Rush, what is up, man? God damn.
Hey, finally onto the football storyline. Spring games are ahead. It's we do get to this time of year, the NHL, NBA playoffs, right? We get those occasional UFC fights too, but we're getting about that time. It's usually Memorial Day. It sets in where you're like, I could use a Boise State versus Colorado State Thursday night game right about now. You take any football in any form, but hey, talking about it too is a lot of fun. So here we go.
Indeed. And hey, third man in the box as we're talking Big 12, not basketball. We're talking football today. Like Rush said, spring games upon us, spring games in action. Well, you guys know him as a 6-time Zen champion. Also, he's always fighting a family civil war. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C. at Walters. He's fighting a family civil war in Norman, Stillwater, Waco, Fort Worth. You guys know him as the Big 12 guru. Troy Chewning, what's up, man?
If we're talking football, Norman's kind of irrelevant now, so we don't really need to worry about that anymore. But yeah, we're up here at Walters. Going to go into the Nats game for probably, 6 outs, and then come right back out here to watch the Caps. So we got the DC double play tonight. Sorry for the background noise if anybody can hear it, but it's pretty crowded for it to only be 5 o'clock at Walters right now. I guess everybody hasn't given up on the Caps yet, and kind of makes sense. They're a team that you can't explain, and they could lose a game by 8 goals and then beat that same team the very next night. So who knows? We're just happy to be playing extra games in the playoffs and talking football at the bar, drinking vodka Red Bulls. So things are looking up right now.
Things are looking up, and like you said, it's Hey, I mean, the Caps aren't done yet. It's only been one game. They if they lose another one, then when you go down 2-0, then things get a little dicey. But get out there, check out the Nats and the MLB gambling podcast because the Nats are going to beat the Dodgers ass again tonight. After
there he is. It's Captain Obvious.
There's Captain Obvious there.
What's up, Captain?
There's
got a Stanley Cup mug.
I didn't bring the real one.
He didn't bring the real full-size Stanley Cup this time because the last game he brought it to, we were using the top of it as a beer cooler. And things didn't really work out well for us in that game. So
They will tonight.
pulled a little switch up.
There we go. I like it.
See,
I like it.
There you go. If you want to get over there to Walters and watch the NFL draft, well, make sure you check out the Sports Gambling Podcast before you do so, because they have you covered all week with NFL draft props, mock drafts, and their NFL draft watch party. Tune in Thursday night on the Sports Gambling Podcast YouTube page to hang with the guys for their NFL draft party out there. Skins pick number 2, Patriots pick number 3.
Trade the pick.
Troy, when do your Cowgirls pick?
it doesn't matter. They said they were going all in this offseason, and they re-signed the punter. So, and they got Royce Freeman. Those are their all-in moves. They re-signed a punter and got Royce Freeman. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter who they draft. They're going to make it all the way to either the wild card round or the divisional round, and then just get fucking thumped. So, who cares about the Cowgirls? Not me. I'm all on Jaden Daniels. I'm pulling this full switcheroo, baby.
Ooh.
There you go. Well, get on over there and check out the Main Sports Gambling Podcast. All righty, we are back on the Big 12 College Experience. Shout out to Rush for changing the backdrop, too, because we're talking football. We're working with Cam to get rid of those two logos and get it over the Colorado Buffaloes, Arizona Wildcats, Arizona State Sun Devil, and Rush's Utah Utes.
Yeah.
All right,
Can we put that one upside down?
Yeah.
Can that be our upside down logo?
If they keep being fucking annoying, yes.
Rush, they're not going to stop, I promise.
Rush, I'll hand it to you. Thoughts on just some spring headlines, anything that's caught your eye? I know it's college football doesn't get as much traction, I feel like, as college basketball, just because basketball is so chaotic for a 2-week span that we're in right now. But just some offseason headlines that you've looked at in the Big 12 so far.
So a couple for those locally and that enjoy the Ryan and Rush show. West Virginia has done so far, cross your fingers, an excellent job of retaining their talent, getting guys that we assumed were hitting the transfer portal to, hit the transfer portal, and, Country Roads Trust came through. So West Virginia is looking pretty good, hopefully going into this season, but you know how it is when West Virginia is given expectations. It's bad. We do better with the backs against the wall. So we'll put that to the side for now. Curious, another team that's close to me, BYU Cougars, what's going to happen that comes out from their quarterback standpoint. That's actually potentially a question for Troy right now. Jerry Bohannon is listed as their starting quarterback from South Florida, spent some time at Baylor there. So I'd love to pick Troy's brain there. Curious because, it felt like they couldn't get that right last year, and especially when they were up, they were 5-2 and couldn't make a bowl game. So Sataki needs to be, I don't know. I haven't listened to like KSL or the local media too much yet. I'll start tuning in here soon, but my opinion is Sataki's on the hot seat. I think Jay Hill is going to be the eventual head coach at BYU. But then, of course, you have the mainstream storylines, and I'm sure we'll get to that. Colorado, and Deion Sanders seemed like half the team hit the transfer portal. They did a good job of playing it off. Houston, it seems like half their team hit the transfer portal as well too. But then you kind of look at these other schools that haven't had much, people leaving or coming in, and there's a reason I think they stay pretty stable programs. So curious now that Oklahoma and Texas kind of leave the teams that, besides TCU, that got the Big 12 to the playoff. Who's going to be those next teams to come in and fill their place, especially with this expanded playoff coming up. So I'm really excited about the Big 12 this coming year. I know they're bread and butter of Oklahoma and Texas. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. And, you're going to lose a little bit of revenue there. But I think with this Big 16, it's going to be the most fun. I mean, we already believe that, but it's really, I think, going to be the most fun, the most parity. And I think year after year, it's going to be like which Big 12 teams are making it to the playoffs. So I'm really excited.
Troy, what about you, man? What's caught your eye so far this preseason,
offseason?
We'll
first of all, I want to note that I just noticed that Rush has the photo up from us with our buddy at the Caps game. Actually, probably one of the more exciting Caps games of the whole entire year that we went to, with like 5 third-period goals, and the Caps are able to beat the Hurricanes. But so maybe that's a little bit of good mojo for us. You can tell where my brain's at. My favorite part of the transfer portal so far is no outgoing and no incoming players for Oklahoma State. Way to go, Gundy. Fucking take it back to the old school. Stop fucking paying transfers to show up when you don't know what you're going to get. And there are guys that are committing to schools based on how much money they're going to get, not any kind of fit or any kind of coaching matchup or anything like that. They're just looking for cash. Fuck those guys. They're ruining the game of college football. And I'm hoping here that, maybe the pendulum starts to swing back the other way with teams keeping some experience and beating some of the transfer teams. And I'm really hoping that Colorado completely sucks dick now. Just watch everybody transfer out. You saw Cormani McClain did a video that he put up online, and he was scrolling through his grades from Colorado because that was one of the reasons they were keeping him out, was he wasn't performing in the classroom. His lowest grade in 2 semesters was like a B-. So fuck you, Deion. Cormani's a good fucking cornerback. We got to watch him play because, Lakeland High School, right down there by where I went to college at Florida Southern, and one of the best high school programs in the nation, specifically for public schools. That's going to be a big hit for them. I mean, they lose their number 1 receiver and cornerback, and you've got a 5-star dude in Cormani that you basically alienated, and now he can't fill that role, which it would have been a perfect spot for him to slide in this year and be, one of their 2 starting quarterbacks. I think Deion's making he's trying to fully zag when everybody else is zigging, not necessarily that teams aren't getting transfers and whatnot, but to not be worried about, 18 or 20 guys transferring out of your school and establishing that idea as we're going to do this every year. I am just hoping that haunts them for the sole purpose of, I don't want to see that in college football. I want to see guys stay at schools for 2 or 3 years and become better and, college town heroes that never have to pay for a beer in a town of 70,000 people or something like that. That's what college football is all about, and we're getting it taken away from us, but we also get to highlight the guys that do stay and do kind of improve and care about their school. I will say Bohannon he's a pretty big statured quarterback. He's a good scrambler. He can definitely run the ball. He's got the issue where, you'll see him throw a couple of deep balls down the field or further than intermediate routes, and you'll think, oh my goodness, this guy's got a cannon. He's got a pretty good arm, but the 7-yard slant still fucks with him.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking
It's like if Robert Griffin stunk, that's Bohannon.
Troy, I agree with you, obviously, with the portal and NIL, and it is going to start swinging back, I think, a little bit, because some of the money these guys are getting is not sustainable, and the average American's not just going to keep paying. I know you're going to get the 1%ers that are going to more than gladly pay for the elite players, but paying for role guys, 200, 300, 400,000, that's not sustainable, especially when you pay for a player and he leaves 6 months later and he didn't piss a drop. So it's you're hitting them with, hey, buy season tickets. Here's pay for parking, pay for beers. Oh, and on top of it, also, we're going to hit you. We need your help retaining our roster, or we need help buying players in the transfer portal. And when they don't pay off, the return on investment is, why am I ponying up all this money when there's no checks and balances for anything? You guys are completely wasting our money. It's
like buying Bitcoin when it's $100,000.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Staring at it for months and months and months when it was nothing, and then just deciding oh, everybody else is doing this, we might as well do it. You might be behind the wave there. You might want to work it the other direction.
Yeah, I just think it's eventually it's going to wear off. It's still somewhat new, and that's why I think everybody has been able to pony up the way they have, and that's kind of why the draft class is a little bit weaker than what it's been, because guys are electing to stay in school for those 4th, 5th, 6th rounders that would usually go. They're going to come back and make more money in college. So, but this will dry up real quick before we talk some more teams. We got to talk about, the only underdog fantasy, the easiest way to play your fantasy sports all season long. Simply pick higher, lower, and it's available in 30 states, including California, Texas, and even Canada and Florida. So get on over there. Underdog is available, like I said, in all 30 states, California, Texas, Canada, and they just lost the champions, player versus player format in Florida. TCE SGPN. Troy, back on the groove. You got anything queued up on the ice tonight with NHL playoffs?
We've got one that I've bet this combination throughout the year. When I went back and looked at between my DraftKings, my FanDuel, and my Caesars, I bet this combination to score a goal in the same game together 24 times this year, and it's hit 18 of those 24 times. It's Carter Verhaeghe and Sam Reinhart, both over half a goal. They're both 1.5 spicies. It's a 2-pick that's worth a 5X on Underdog Fantasy. And you can probably just go ahead and put the bets in advance for every single game of this series and just live with the fact that at least 2 or 3 of the games they're both going to score. Game 1, both scored, 5X. Game 2, we're betting it again. So Carter Verhaeghe over half or higher than half a goal, and Sam Reinhart higher than half a goal.
Get on over there, baby. Make sure you sign up with the code TCESPN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. All righty, we're back. So Troy's already talked.
I was going to say, I do want to note to Marvin here in the chat, I'm not advocating for kids to take significantly less money to stay somewhere that they've already been. If you're an athlete that's going to be offered a huge difference in money, go ahead and take your money, because it's true. Those colleges don't give a fuck about you. But if you're picking between 2 or 3 situations and the difference is, $150,000, whether higher or lower between all those spots, pick the coach that cares about you. Pick the place that you feel like you're kind of welcome. Even if it's only going to be for a year or 2, it's still going to give you a way better chance to, make a career out of it, compared to thinking you've got to grab money for 2 or 3 years and then become a car salesman.
I agree.
I still think, there's a happy median that these kids could probably pick and still make 6 figures playing college sports and not end up like Cormani McLean going to Colorado for a year because he had a huge NIL deal and like Deion, and now he's completely screwed, at least for the time being right now. Sure, he's got some money, but unless he performs well over the next year or 2, he just went from like a projected first-round NFL pick out of high school to a dude that's going to be lucky to go in the second day. So, yeah, there's definitely a median in between, but I'm not advocating that the kids, turn down an extra $500,000 if they develop into, a preseason top 20 player at their position or something like that. Just clearing things up.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, I mean, we all agree, but at the same time, fit does mean something. Coaching means something, and it can help you get to the next level. If you have a shit coach, you play for a shit program, it's not going to translate to the next level rush. So Troy talked about Deion. I think I've been pretty on record about Deion. I don't think what he's doing is sustainable. I like Deion, but I don't think it's sustainable. What's your thoughts on this whole Colorado? I don't even know if we call it a mess situation. It's just ongoing.
It's uncharted territory.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot about this too. So obviously Deion was very hyped last year, and to kind of start the season right, he overperformed. Like, right, he went 3-0. He was like, wow, he just beat the TCU, who's just in the national championship. And granted, TCU ended up having a down year in the grand scheme of things. Of course, there was that Stanford game that they blew to and kind of got back down to earth. And people were a little, I guess, more upset at the end of the season, but it's a long season. I think here's the side I am, because I do like Deion, and I do believe that he is a great mentor and father figure to those in a community that can struggle with that sometimes. And I think he has an excellent place in football. And I really like what he's doing, because I do think he is that guy to take kids under his arm and coach them up. However, sometimes the lights get bright. Sometimes, it's money gets very involved, and money changes things. You're right, Ryan. And I think I'm on the side of this better pay off, Deion. You better know what you're doing here. And this better be more than getting the brand or the name Coach Prime out there. You better know what you're doing.
Doesn't it seem like he's the fact that the situation doesn't bother him, doesn't it seem like it's more of an individual thing? Like Deion is looking to move to a different situation and just
I don't
have
know
a
if
couple
he's
of flash in the pans.
So I don't know
because-
if he's necessarily looking to move towards a new situation. Maybe he eventually wants to be the Cowboys head coach. I don't know about that, but I also think there's something to be said about being a baller in, like Colorado. Like I think he could have a lot of success there and get a name and be established there and kind of know your line too. My concern with Deion though is he had very, initial success at first. Does he have a humble side about him? Does he like know when I'm like, oh, I'm wrong about that? Like, because to me, he seems like, and I think this is where you guys are going with this. Does he keep doubling down? Like you can only double down so much where you just end up getting burnt. Like, and that's my concern. Is he a guy that can say, hey, I was actually wrong about this? Can he make coaching adjustments beyond the X's and O's? Can he actually be like, oh, I'm totally wrong about this? Can he give another coach responsibility? Can he give another coach like, hey, I'm actually weaker at this than you are? And I don't know if he can't because all signs point to no right now. So that goes back to the whole point where it's like, you better know what you're doing, Deion.
And good to note, because this is a gambling show, the idea of doubling down only works to get you back to even if you lose the first one. So as soon as you lose the first one and you decide to double down a second time and a third time, the best you can do is get back to right where you started. So there's not a huge opportunity here for Colorado to turn around and win 9 or 10 games. Like if they turn around and win 5 games again, I would be kind of impressed with as many guys as they have leaving in the transfer portal and going to the NFL draft in terms of their real talent and whatnot. If they were to win 5 games, I would still be kind of impressed, but you don't really gain anything from that. Like Mac was saying, the sustainability of it, and it's just going to come back to bite them. They're going to screw themselves. Deion's only going to be there for like a year or two longer. The reason why he's doing this is to, gain more notoriety and media clicks. And that's all the guys that are transferring out, even like Alton McCaskill, pretty dang good running back, especially at the college level. And he's talking about how, at Colorado, we're playing for clicks. We're playing for, we're trying to get hype. We're trying to build this program, which, I guess that's a route to do it. But typically the best route to build your football program is to win more games every year. Neil Brown.
There you go.
Well, I'll tell you what confused me last year with Deion was the decision to basically take the play calling away from Sean Lewis and hand it to Pat Shurmur middle of the year, when the reason they won games early was because of their offense. And I know his son was the quarterback, but that was the one where that was the first red flag where it's like, all right, if you disagree with Deion or you have a little bit of pushback, is he one of those guys? It's just like, it's my way or the highway. Obviously it is his program, but at the same time, you don't want a bunch of yes man around you. And that's kind of what that screamed of, is that Sean Lewis had an opinion that Deion didn't agree with. And he basically just said, all right, well, then we're going to go in a different direction. And their offense sucked when Sean Lewis stopped calling the plays and basically got demoted. And now he's at San Diego State. And Pat Shurmur coming over from the NFL, I'm not the biggest fan of his anyway. So, like I said, man, this is a big year for Deion. I'm not saying it's a make or break year, but Rush does make a good point. Like, if they fucking fall on their face and go 4-8, you started asking questions, is Deion really the right guy at Colorado? I know from a publicity standpoint, he's been great for that university and the dollars that have come in, but it is about winning football games in the end. Do you agree, Rush?
Well, yeah. You have to at least go to a bowl game this year. Because, if the Colorado program is, from kind of taking a step back and looking at what, a once, in the 90s proud program this was and where they've been of late, like, yeah, it hasn't been good. And they got maybe you could say a couple more wins, at least against bigger opponents than people thought they were going to get last year. But you
can't lose
have
that Stanford game.
You can't, but I guess that's the one there. But still, they end up going 5-7 anyway, right? They were 4-8 last year. So,
yeah.
Yeah, so they wouldn't make a bowl game anyway. But this year, you got to get to a bowl. They're spending way too many resources because that's what it goes back to. This whole argument that we were just talking about at the beginning of this episode is the well's eventually going to dry up in a lot of places. People aren't going to be throwing resource at you to hopefully just get to a bowl game. Like, these expectations are going to have to come. And like, especially if you're coming on a year where it's like, hey, let's get in this name, let's get in this name. But you're still, even with those names, maybe it gets you another win. Like, it's going to be kind of a tank of a season anyway. Why are you spending money? So you have to at least make a bowl game. And if they do that, maybe some people will be disappointed. But I think when you look at what it's been lately, now they're going to a bowl game. And then next year, I think, everyone talks about that third year is really when you're supposed to make that big mark. But it is bowl game or bust. And if they do not make a bowl game this year, Deion will be on a very, very, very warm, if not hot seat.
Also, a possibly hot seat because it's got a seat heater in Jerry Jones's private jet.
Yes, that could be the case. All right, real quick, we'll talk about some other ones. There's going to be plenty of time to talk about Deion in Colorado, I think, now that they're a member of the Big 12. Football contest proxy. They're going to enter in Circa Survivor or Circa Millions contest, but don't live in Nevada. No problem. It's easy to hire a proxy and submit picks each and every week for a chance to win millions. Sign up in Las Vegas and then just submit your picks to your proxy. We partnered up with the gold standard of proxies over at Football Contest Proxy. Plus, if you're using the promo code SGP at checkout, you'll save $50 off with those proxy fees. That's right. Just go over to footballcontestproxy.com. That is the footballcontestproxy.com. Promo code SGP to get $50 off today. All righty, back on the Big 12 college experience. Like I said, we're going to have plenty of time to talk Coach Prime in Colorado. There definitely will not be short on storylines. We do have a couple spring games left this weekend in the Big 12. West Virginia will kick it off, TCU, and there's one more. Oh, Colorado, of course. So 11 out of the 14 schools in the Big 12 have played their spring games. I'll just whip it back around. Rush, any closing thoughts just on spring practices, spring games, on quarterback battles, any competitions, coaching, hot seat coming into the Big 12 offseason?
Sataki's on the hot seat. I said that earlier in this episode. Aranda, hot seat. What about McGuire?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I guess.
Yeah, he needs to. Do something this year. They did. I don't think. What's his name? Sonny.
Dykes.
Yeah, Sonny Dykes. He'll need to have a comeback year this year. I think here's what it is. So spring practices, right? It's a glorified scrimmage. You're getting people going. It's a good thing. It's good for especially you're in Morgantown, right? The college town. It's definitely a good event. But then you're going to have a whole another transfer portal open up here again soon. So I'm sure it'll give us plenty more to talk about. Right now, the name of the game is, getting kids adjusted, preventing injuries, doing their thing, get the fan base a little riled up, give them a nice little taste, before the summertime. But I do think this year, especially with the Big 16, the new Big 12 is going to be the teams that underperformed last year. I would say probably their coaches are on the hot seat or near it. Maybe Sonny Dykes is the exception. Sometimes that just happens. Seeing how they adjust and what they do in the springtime to really rebuild their foundations and get back where they need to go. So I think their moves are going to be looked under in a microscope. I think coming in these teams, right? We got Cam Rising on his probably 9th millionth year coming in for Utah. So seeing how he does post injury. Obviously we just talked Colorado, of course, Arizona with their new coach, and the players are staying. So we'll see how they adjust there. And then Arizona State is the dumpster fire that continues. And I don't think it was Herm Edwards was the problem. So we'll just, I guess, leave that there. But curious how kind of like the Baylor, the BYU, the TCU, those teams, Curious what the hell Houston's going to do this year. But those teams that had those high expectations, Texas Tech last year, is it going to be kind of one of those a year after things, or are we sending guys to the glue factory, Troy? So we'll find out. But springtime's, start getting it going.
Well, I do have a glue factory candidate, and it is Dana Holgorsen. This is a make or break year for Dana with all the guys.
He's gone.
He's gone.
Oh.
Remember they hired the guy from Tulane, Pratt.
Yeah, Michael Pratt, right? Or no, that's the quarterback.
Yes, you're right.
Pratt was the QB. But
it is Willie Fritz. Sorry, yeah, Pratt was quarterback. Fritz.
Yep. More importantly is I've actually seen Willie Fritz develop guys that weren't, top name dudes at Tulane and make them look better every year, which is, I guess, a little bit of an encouraging thing. But if Houston, they've got a chance to be a real power player in the Big 12 with Oklahoma and Texas gone with their basketball program. If they can get, just a consistent team that's going to be winning bowl games at 7 or 8 wins a year in Houston, that's going to work for them going forward. So that's a weird situation with all the guys that are leaving. But I would like to see how Mike Gundy actually approaches the non-conference this year, because he's always had issues recently. But the years that he hasn't had issues in the non-con is when he gets to, have a 35-year-old quarterback. And once again, Oklahoma State lucks out. Alan Bowman gets another year of eligibility, gets to stay and play. We know Fifita is going to be good. We know Cam Rising is probably going to be pretty good. But there's a chance, just based on experience and play within the league, that Alan Bowman might be the best quarterback. And not based on any kind of statistics or whatnot, just a slightly above game manager kind of quarterback style, and knows the mistakes that he's made before, was almost able to win the Big 12. It would be curious to see if he approaches the non-con the same way he has in the past, of if we win 2 of the 3 games, no big deal. We just got to get through these. I wouldn't think that would be his approach this year. I think especially, this kind of piggybacks off the Big 12 not performing as well as we thought they would in the college basketball tournament. But the whole idea of playing cupcakes and then rewarding teams because their analytics look really good against cupcake teams, they don't have the strength in the Big 12 to not look good in non-conference games. And this applies to every team. Between Arizona and Utah, I don't think they're going to be, top 5 teams that are front runners for a college football semifinal. So you don't have that chance of maybe we can beat this team at home and really catapult up from a big strength of schedule win. If a Big 12 team wants to make the semifinals next year, they probably can only lose 1 game. And it would have to be another ranked matchup in a loss, or else the whole league is completely screwed.
Well, they will get the auto bid. They'll at least get the 1 auto bid with the extended playoff, but it will make it harder, like you said, with getting a lower seed. And
if you get matched up with Georgia instead of getting matched up with Coastal Carolina because they get a group of 5 auto bid or something, it does make it a little bit more difficult, I would say.
Yeah. No doubt.
And that seems to be, that might be the issue. They might even put a group of 5 team over a Big 12 champ as an auto bid seed. It just feels like things are going to be rough in Big 12 basketball this year. If you were rooting for the whole league, they're going to have issues with trying to convince writers and people that watch games that they really are anywhere near the same level as some of the top conferences. So I don't know. Maybe they become an area that the dudes in the SEC and the Big Ten transfer to after 1 year. And maybe they have guys that can build up some talent, but it just seems like it's going to be a rough year, especially for the Big 12 teams that have been in the conference for a while. Football-wise, I would lean Arizona and Houston as Arizona and Utah as the two favorites to win the league right off the bat, which kind of weird. Move a conference, move on over. But with how strong the quarterback play was in the Pac-12 last year, I would argue that it was probably pretty difficult to win games out west. Might be a little bit easier for them in the Big 12.
Don't sleep on K-State. K-State's always sneaky with Kleiman, and then Avery Johnson. That'll be the transition from Will Howard, who's now at Ohio State. I thought that was so weird. Remember, Jalen Daniels comes back with Kansas, so they're going to be an interesting team. I cannot believe neither of you didn't bring up your guy. What is Scott Satterfield in Cincinnati going to look like life after Emory Jones? I couldn't believe neither of you brought it up. I was like, oh my God, neither of them are bringing up Cincinnati.
And big shout out to Cincinnati. They're just like the Dallas Cowboys. Their only incoming transfer, punter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think Arizona's a little more hyped than people. I believe in Utah. I think Utah is going to be kind of like Houston in basketball, where they're tough. They got their quarterback back, Cam Rising. He's 30 years old. We need an Oklahoma State-Houston Big 12 title game. Cam Rising versus Alan Bowman battle the 30-year-old birthdays in their 17th year senior season. Kyle Wittingham versus fucking Mike Gundy. That would be absolutely fantastic. I hope that's what we get. But yeah, I
feel like Kyle Wittingham versus Gundy in like a shotgun competition would be pretty fucking cool.
Oh, it'd be fantastic.
I don't mean like shooting clay pigeons. I mean like busting open the can.
One last note before we wrap up here, boys. I had to do a little digging, see what kind of Cincinnati quarterback we're going to be dealing with this year, because I totally forgot. Sorsby from Indiana. So might gotta have a round 2 here, boys.
Yeah, it might be. Don't worry. I thought Pratt was taking over the Houston program. That's how good he was at Tulane instead of Willie Fritz. I forgot Willie Fritz was the one that actually coached, and Pratt was playing quarterback.
Troy had a Dana Holgerson whole rant ready to go. I think it's official. This podcast is in the transfer portal.
He started, and I'm like, wait, did Dana take an offensive coordinator job in the league? I was like looking it up. Where did Dana end up?
I looked it up. I don't think he's anywhere right now.
He's drinking Red Bull vodkas, baby. He'd be good on TV. I'd actually like to see him get a shot on TV. He'd be entertaining. Revive his career. He would have went to Alabama. All the ex-head coaches go to Alabama as a offensive consultant, but Saban fucking hung it up. So now everybody that gets fired doesn't have that gig that they could go back. But hey, we're in preseason mode. We're getting ready to gear up our football content. We've been in basketball mode, talking baseball as well. Welcome to 4 newcomers. We'll get you on the graphic here starting July 1 when we officially kick those fucking Longhorns and Sooners to the curb. Horns down, Sooners down. Welcome, Sun Devils. Welcome, Wildcats. Welcome, Utes. And welcome, Buffs, baby.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add, Rush, before we get out of here? I know we got the NFL draft, so hopefully we get as many first-rounders not named Texas or Oklahoma for the Big 12.
Only thing to add, Ryan and Rush show, we will be doing a spring practice episode for West Virginia. So if that tickles your fancy, go check us out at the Ryan and Rush show. Almost at 1,500 subscribers, so be one of those 1,500. More than appreciated. So I'm excited for football season. Like I said, we're getting to that time where it's like, just put something football on my television screen.
Time to dive into these spring games. Troy, I know you're getting ready to head into Nats Park. I already bet them on the money line tonight against the Dodgers. They're going to beat their ass again tonight. Fuck the Dodgers.
The Dodgers don't look too hot, to be honest. Yeah, we got known Jan Sixer Patrick Corbin going head-to-head with Los Angeles, known 85% liberal voting. This could be a personal game for Corbin. They've locked up a few of his buddies that stormed the Capitol, so he might have a little bit of anger here. Maybe he pumps the fastball all the way up to like 93 miles an hour out of being mad. But Nats kind of scrappy, not too bad. If they win the game today, they will be 500 for the first time since Game 7 of the 2019 World Series. From that point on, they have never won an opening day game, and they've never reached 500 in a season since then. Not even at like 1-1. So,
hey, and fun
to be
fact,
honest, things are looking up.
dude, they were 19 of 31 that year. They won the World Series, so they're used to coming from behind. Hey, fun team and great ballpark to if you ever want to go. Hit up Troy, hit up the Big 12 Guru. We are the Big 12 Experience. Like I said, we'll be rocking and rolling with you guys all off season, digging into some of these depth chart shit. We'll be starting our preseason team previews where we'll dive more into these rosters, depth charts, quarterback battles, how they fit, who got the good schedule, who got the bad schedule, futures. Obviously, college basketball is still gearing up. Big 12 basketball next year is going to be, I mean, it's always really good. It's the best league in America. But next year, with some of the portal additions of Kansas, Baylor, Houston, and Iowa State, I mean, they're going to be 4 out of the top 6 teams in the country next year. Then we bring in Arizona basketball, another nice brand. Utah's obviously good. Colorado, going to be a fun year. Got some programs on the way back. West Virginia, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, K-State, always good as well. But, hey, this is the Big 12 Experience. He is the Big 12 Guru at Troy Chewning. He is Rambling Rush at Rambling Rush on the X. I am at Moneyline_Mac, and we are the Big 12 College Experience, and we are out of here.
Music ran a little too long the first time, Ryan.
Yeah, it won't work now. Does this one work? All right, we're out of here. See you guys. No music today. This is the College Experience.